During elections, the electorate must understand their community's most pressing environmental issues and elect those that would help solve them. Legislations by politicians can affect the air we breathe, the water we drink, the land, and generally our well-being. With me today is Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour. He is the PDP Lagos West Senatorial aspirant. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
Yes. Now I'll start with the first question. What is your green agenda?
My green agenda for Lagos West includes trying to reduce emissions, especially toxic emissions in Lagos State, because that's something that's a really terrible thing that's affecting lots of people's health, even though they are not aware of it. By working with agencies that currently exist and environmental agencies to make sure that we can reduce the emissions, whether it's from generators, whether it's from companies and what they are releasing into the gutters, into our canals, and any toxic products that are being released, we need to ensure that it's being monitored. We need to ensure that we can try and work a way around that as well. And then for larger discussion about Nigeria, I'm very concerned about sustainable agriculture in terms of the chemicals that we're using for agriculture and the effects on human consumption. I'm also very interested in desertification, because the more we leave it, the more the arable land is going to be lost, coming all the way from the north down to the south. And this affects the migration patterns of people, affects people being displaced, affects the kind of agriculture and food that we can produce. So environmental factors are going to be very important to ensure we have a sustainable country moving forward.
Climate change is a global issue and it should be taken seriously locally. What's your plan to support Nigeria in its agenda to tackle climate change?
I'm very, very concerned, because there's also an unfair balance of power where most of the big producers that are affecting the climate are not the ones that are going to pay the ultimate price, because our carbon footprint in Nigeria is much lower than China or America, for example. But you find that things like desertification, climate change is going to affect those of us in Western Africa and Africa in general much more. And because we don't have regulatory patterns and the capacity, even if it's just emergency control and response capacity, you find that the amount of people that are affected are significant, especially in Lagos and Nigeria as a whole. And you also see that because the government has not put these structures in place, whether you have high amounts of flooding in certain areas, desertification in other areas, dealing with that emergency and having 180 million people being susceptible to these challenges is something that will affect the entire continent.
The world is going green, the economy is going green. For your constituency, how do you think green jobs can be provided? I mean, Nigeria has a problem with unemployment. How can you support green jobs in your constituency?
I feel that that is the way forward, and I feel that sustainability in general in the next 20-30 years, even if Nigeria does not embrace it now, the entire world has embraced it. You find places like Saudi Arabia, they are selling most of their interest in oil fields and buying huge amounts of shares in sustainable companies. Companies are investing significantly in clean energy producing companies and those kind of technologies. And I think that that's the way of the future. Solar power, trying to maximize on the amount of water that's around us, whether it's tidal energy. There's so much the future has to offer in terms of clean energy and sustainable development that I feel we really need to, even if we don't cash in on it right now, we need to put our foot in the right direction in relation to sustainable energy.
An important question, national grid or mini grids?
Mini grids for me, because the infrastructure to actually power this entire country from central points, I feel is not sustainable, and I feel is something that we just have not been able to achieve, right? But with mini grids, and you find that a lot of developed countries in the world, they have mini grid systems. For instance, in America as well, they have mini grid systems where they can independently power a certain area, and it also minimizes the single point of failure, where if something is centrally located, once something negative happens there, it affects everything. But by the time we have mini grids, you're reducing the potential for failure to happen that will affect the entire country. So I think that mini grids are the way forward. Also mini refineries as well are the way forward. As long as we can control the toxic emissions and we can monitor and regulate the amount of negative emissions or toxic effects that it might have on people in the surrounding communities, mini grids, mini refineries are the way to go.
And we know you are a strong anti-GMO advocate.
Yes, I am, and that has not changed. I feel that we need to have sustainable agriculture. I feel that our agriculture must be something that allows for our full capacity to be embraced before importing foreign technology that we cannot necessarily regulate and has been mired in controversy. I mean, about 2 months ago, they awarded a gentleman almost $250 million because he could prove his cancer was related to the production or the consumption of GMOs. And at least he can actually do the research and find out what is affecting him. There's so many people dying in our country that don't know why. They believe that somebody in the village is the one doing them. And you also have the need for us to be able to be productive as an economy and export our agricultural outputs, not just raw materials, but actually refined and processed goods. And we need to start to package ourselves as a nation as a cleaner alternative. The whole idea of Africa as a clean source of food is something that we need to cash in on. And if we are producing food and using technologies that denies us that capacity, it's something we really need to rethink.
Deforestation is a problem across Nigeria, across the southwest of Nigeria. Deforestation is happening on a massive scale. How do you think we can check this?
I think that is something that we really need to put a lot of attention on, because even I'm an architect by profession, and the woods that we have are nothing to write home about. Termites are eating these things like as soon as you have it, in a month's time, 2 months, even when you treat it. We need to be able to map out places where we're going to harvest these timber, a process by which we replant, so we have a sustainable chain, and also the processing of these woods so that it can be used on the long term. Not that you use wood, then it goes bad, then you have to go and cut the tree and come back and use it again, right? So even the wood that we are using, let's use it in a sustainable way. Let's replant and ensure that it continues to be sustainable and we don't completely deplete this resource that we have abundantly.
And our wildlife, we have animals going extinct, and then Nigerians are eating all the bushmeat. How do you can we actually tackle this?
Where? In Lagos West or in Nigeria as a whole? Because my people in Lagos West, we don't have bushmeat to kill. Well, you eat it, it's a delicacy. This comes more under the ambit of conservation, right? Ensuring that we have an agency that's concerned about certain species in our environment. And I think that that's something that one should put appropriation for in the budget, and that's what one will do as a senator.
And finally, what's your favorite SDG?
My favorite SDG is goal number 4, quality education, because I feel education is the bedrock of development in any society. It's a bedrock that allows for the economy to actually explode, in the sense that the skills, not just education, the way that we've been practicing education in this country, but education that actually empowers people to be able to make the most of their environment, that also ties them into their culture and allows them harvest and the need for us to be a productive economy as opposed to an economy that just consumes. We need to know how things are made, how to make them sustainably, how to make them resources that are available to us naturally, and how to build on that edge.
Just 10 months ago, Adeleja was a happy man. He was happy to wake up to clean breath after 20 years of inhaling toxic air from the dump site right behind his home. But now, his joy seems short-lived. The dump site that was shut down following a massive fire that burned for more than 3 months is back in operation.
We were very relieved, and everywhere is peaceful, no odor, nothing. If you come here early in the morning, you pity all those who are staying here. If you look at my houses here, nobody is coming to rent it because of the dump site.
Just like him, other residents say they are disappointed.
We are highly disappointed with the reopening of this site because it is contrary to all that we are told, because it is unbearable.
At the height of its operation, the Olusosun dump site received 10,000 tons of waste daily. It is the largest landfill in Africa. According to health experts, people who live within 5 kilometers of dump sites are exposed to health risks caused by pollutants contaminating air, land, and water. The Lagos State Waste Management Agency says the reopening is actually part of a policy to shut it down permanently in the long run.
Usually for site like that site, you started the commissioning earlier, and that means given about 3 years. And we're going to wind up this soon, 2022, according to plan. But the decommissioning program has to start, and I think that's exactly what we're doing. It's not as if we are operating full-blown at Olusosun right now. And to decommission, you have to get the landscape proper, you have to properly scape the area, and you have to use, most of the time, you use the refuse itself to get the landscape very well. And then you now cover with about a 1 meter thickness of soil, and then get the slope. You stabilize this tight slope very well. You run the drainage channel, and then you have the pipes that will manage the methane for the next 50 years.
Homeowners are sad, but for those who make a living here, business is back and booming.
I'm okay, I feel better, I'm happy for them open this place for us.
So when they shut it down, what were you doing?
I have noticed it, I'm a hairdresser. And I have shop here before. When they close it, after they close it, I fix lashes, nails. Then when they open it back, we come back.
And for others, filming of their business activity wasn't welcome.
Immediately they saw the camera, they told us to shut down our camera or else they will break the camera.
But on camera, they just don't want to talk to the media.
Half of what they bring there, they're valuable. But these people make a lot of money out of it. They pick the PET bottles, they pick papers, they pick aluminium cans, metals, and they make a living off it every day. So, yeah, they probably, if you're not guided on the side, they see you as an enemy, you want to come and take something out of that. And so they rather be a bit aggressive, unless they know you're guided in moving around the area.
Lagos has an increasing population of over 20 million. To manage landfills, residents and businesses must first reduce the amount of waste they generate.
Ojota is a very popular area, and everybody coming from Lagos, from Ibadan, this is the only way, entry point to this Lagos. And you see what they are doing there. It's not good.
They shouldn't worry because we are rounding off the site, and as a matter of just enjoying the free period that we use. Most of them met the site there, and we're conscious of the fact that yes, we are responsible towards them, even though they met the site.
The business of waste may be gained for some, but for those living close to the dump sites, it's a return of the pain of life next to a thriving dump site in the heart of a mega city. Ugochi Olibo, TVC News.